What have we got? Guys, we're going to start the summary of Bolshevik ideology. What are we starting with? Tell me what you know.
Stem from Marxism.
Okay, good. Stem from Marxism. Okay. Now, it stemmed from Marxism, but...
Karl Marx.
Yeah, but what's the principle behind that?
Getting the power from the industry workers.
Communism. And what's the principle behind communism? Okay, good. Hang on one second. That's really good. So, Teresa, equality of wealth. So, in regards to society and hierarchy, what would that look like? Certain phrase you want to say. A something society. Starts with C, ends in less. Classless society. Very good. And to achieve that, the Bolsheviks believe, what do they have to do? There's some transition or transfer of power. What has to happen? Okay, we're going to go touch on that in a sec, but yeah, that's part of it. Good, good. So, to clarify, the Bolsheviks believe to achieve this, which is the founding point of communism, is that the overthrow of the bourgeois, which is, in simple terms, who are they? The rich, the ruling elite, the aristocracy, the industrialists. The overthrow of them, yeah. To give power to who? The proletariat, and who do the proletariat represent? Working class, yeah, okay, and peasants. Good, alright, so to overthrow the ruling elite and give that power to the peasants and working class. Good. Right. Now, do the Bolsheviks think that this can happen in a civil way, sitting down for dinner, shaking hands, dressed nicely, and have a really polite conversation about politics, and then think that that Tsar Nicholas is going to go, yeah, sure, this actually sounds really great. I'll just give up my role as the monarch, and you can have a classless society. Yes or no? No. How does Lenin talk about this? How does he think it's going to it has to happen? Yeah. But, so with military, but a violent. It has to be a revolution. Okay. So Lenin believed that this had to happen through a violent uprising. Or in other terms, what's the other R word we're looking for? Revolution. Hey? Revolution. Okay, good. So who, during this time, so if we're touching on the end of Russia in year 11, who's enemy number one for the Bolsheviks at the end of year 11 topic? The Tsar. The royal family, because they represent everything the Bolshevik ideology is against. Does that make sense? Yeah? Because they're based on a society with clear class and hierarchy and structure, and inequality of wealth. Yeah? Where the peasants and the working class do not have a place of prominence. And so that's why the Tsar is the enemy number one. Okay? And before we go to the October coup, okay, we know the same year, just sort of remember that it's important to jot this down or note this in your head. The same year in February, that is when Tsar Nicholas abdicates. So he steps down as ruler of Russia.
Happened in October that
February/March. Okay, so the start of 1917, Tsar Nicholas steps down. Okay?
Does that say
and give the power to the peasants and working class? Guys, I'm going to be scanning this and putting it up on Classroom, so you don't have, I understand you will not be able to see that from the back, okay? These are my 6 mini whiteboards. Okay?
Sir?
Hey, miss, how are you?
Morning, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Can I just pass a message on to Emily Capra? She
You sure can, Emily?
Emily?
Okay, so, guys, very quickly, February/March, Tsar Nicholas steps down the abdication of power. Okay, provisional government comes in. Yeah?
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome, miss. And the provisional government's a group of politicians that are sort of which way do they kind of lean, or what are they more, like, what's their political leaning?
Ready?
Yeah, democratic, okay, capitalism, okay, and some that would have had socialist backgrounds, but more so social democracy, all right, which is definitely not on par with the Bolshevik ideology, not 100%, okay. So from February, March, you've got the provisional government in power, trying to just keep things going, okay, and what's happening as well during this time? What's Russia really involved in? War. Which is just crippling their economy. They're getting smashed on the war front. So national pride is low. Okay? And what's Lenin promising Russian people? Peace, bread, peace, bread, land. Bread, peace, land. Okay? And that's there. These big cornerstones of this time.
And to remove him out of the war.
Peace, yeah. Peace, bread, land. Yeah. So the provisional government's not doing it. Okay? Lenin's not happy with it. Okay? And so then what happens in October 1917?
Red Guards invade the Winter Palace to overthrow the
Good.
government.
Okay, so
Shame.
guys, I'm going to do this thing. Purple, I'm going to be adding on these sheets. Sometimes there's just important points about a certain person saying something, or in purple, when I upload it, specific dates. Okay? So we know here, this is October 1917. I know it's already here, okay, but I'm just going to jot that down so we know. Okay? So good. Red Guards invade
In Petrograd.
Petrograd, yep.
Petrograd.
And what do they do? What do they overthrow?
Provisional
Good,
government.
overthrow the provisional government. Good. I really hope it's not marking the smart board. So that's what happens, okay? Now, who's pushing this? Lenin. Lenin's really pushing this. But also, at the same time they do this, what does Trotsky do? We only learned about this last lesson. So we need to go back to the information. So he organises Red Army for the war, nobody does something at a certain meeting. Think about it. So, I'm going to read it to you. You ready? At the same time. So, Lenin believed it was only through the Bolsheviks that a non-institutional, non-government proletariat state could evolve. When it was announced to the All-Russian Congress of Soviets that the Bolsheviks had seized power in the name of the Soviets, the other socialist parties protested, arguing that the Bolsheviks did not represent the Russian people and or the Soviets. Okay? Because do you remember what percentage they represented of that group? 20%. Only 20% they represented of that commission. Okay? Of that Congress, sorry. And so at the same time, guys, you've got to jot this down, or note this down. So, at the same time, Trotsky announces Bolshevik power to the Soviet Congress. How do the other Soviet groups respond to this?
Storm out.
Some split. So you get a split, guys. The response is some storm out, and others kind of just either join the Bolsheviks or sort of just fade away. Yeah. All right. Okay. How are we doing? We're following so far?
So what's Soviet Congress?
Soviet Congress is it's the Congress, political Congress or group of all the different sort of socialist or Soviet political parties in Russia. Yeah. So they'll be just like different political parties. They all believed in communism or socialism, communism, but they just had different ideas of how that would look in a political practice. Yeah. And so in that actual Congress, the Bolsheviks only represented 20% of the opinion. And they come into this, Trotsky turns up to this and goes, hey guys, the Bolsheviks have taken power. We're controlling Russia now. And the other 80% are kind of like, what the hell's going on? Yeah.
Wouldn't he be like leading the revolution?
Trotsky?
Yeah.
No, because Lenin's the head guy. Yeah. Okay. Okay, one last thing we need to take note of. Really important, guys. And this is why, at this point, you can't say the Bolsheviks have consolidated power. Because have they got control of all of the area, physically, of Russia?
No.
What have they only got control of?
Petrograd.
Good. So at this time, guys, October 1917, the Bolsheviks only control Petrograd. But why is Petrograd really important? What is it? What is it the center of? Well, it's the center of Russia, but it's not the center, but like in physically, but it's the political center of Russia. Okay? Good. Now, something to take note of as well. Okay? This happens in October 1917. What does this technically spark the start of? Civil War. Very good. Okay? That's important to note. Even though we can't touch on Civil War here, this starts the Civil War. Okay, so as I explained before, we did this start the summary. This is not going to be chronological. Okay, these are the main ideas, the main steps of consolidation.
That contributes to the Civil War.
Sorry, one second. It's the catalyst of the Civil War. Yes.
Can Sophie come to the office?
Yeah, she need a bag or?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Sophie. So you could say, guys, the October coup is the catalyst for the physical Civil War. You could already argue there's an ideological.
What does catalyst?
Catalyst means origin. Or you could just use the word the origin of the Civil War, okay? Okay, now, early Soviet government, guys, if you have this sheet from last lesson, I want you to get this open, because we're just going to do a quick summary. I think this is the easiest way to look at it. All we need to go over is that when they take power in Petrograd in October 1917, first thing first, who's the head of the Bolshevik party? Lenin. Okay.
Which one? Teresa. Which sheet?
So it is the impact of the Bolshevik Consolidation of Power sheet, the one from last lesson. And I want you to go down to the bottom here. We're just going to be summarising this information to look at what did the early Soviet government look like. Yes, Emily. Here you are. Okay, so, of course, guys, who's at the head of the government or the party? Lenin. And guys, at this time, would you say that's disputed or not? It's not disputed at this time. In 1917, he's the undisputed leader of the Bolshevik Party. Okay? Okay, so he is charismatic. He's loved by the masses. And he's seen as the future of the Bolsheviks. And guys, when I say loved by the masses, I don't mean the entire mass of Russia. I mean, what does it mean by the word masses?
Workers.
Yeah, the masses by meaning the majority, which is like the working class, the peasants.
So you need one.
So, charismatic. Charismatic, loved by the masses. He was seen as the future of the Bolsheviks. Okay? It's a shame he got shot and was struggling ever since then.
He got shot.
Assassination attempt, yeah.
That's why he was ill and died.
Yeah. So he had 2 bullets remaining inside him for the last 4 years of his life. And it caused him to have strokes, and then he became wheelchair bound, and yeah, the end of his life was pretty poor, yeah. Hand up, scratching her head.
Masses was the middle working class.
Working class and peasants, yeah.
Ah,
Okay? Okay, so we know Lenin's at the head. But, do you want to do close that? Sure? Okay. Now, charismatic, loved by the masses, he was the future of the Bolsheviks, that's how he's seen. But he wasn't the only one. Okay, what did he set up? Look at that sheet you got in front of me. That weird acronym. Sovnarkom. Okay, try your best Russian accent.
Where's that? Oh, yeah.
Is it an acronym or is it like
I think what it is, it's not an acronym, but it's a shortening of words put together. Okay? So it might be Soviet National Commission or something like that. Okay? Now, set up Sovnarkom. Alright. And what was the purpose of the Sovnarkom? What did it really establish? Yeah, okay, it's established important bureaucracy, okay? The functioning of government for them. So bureaucracy is just how government works, alright? And so then the Sovnarkom also identified, through looking at the Sovnarkom, you can identify who were also key figures and prominent individuals in the early Soviet government.
Stalin.
Okay, so we have, first up, who do we have? Lenin as chairman, okay? Then we have Trotsky. Alright, let's just jot this down. And he was responsible for foreign affairs and war. Why is war such an important one? What have you got access to? Not just weapons, but you control who? Military, yeah? We know, guys, looking at Germany and dictatorships, dictators always need the army behind them. And Trotsky's literally looking after them. Okay? Next up we have Rykov, or Rykov. Rykov. Okay? He's looking after internal affairs. So in other words, what does he look after? Words starting with R. What's he focusing on? Rykov. Russia. He's focusing on what's happening in Russia. No. Then we have Kollontai. He's looking after social welfare. Then Lunacharsky. Okay. Popular enlightenment, what's the simplification of that? Propaganda, okay. I just love that euphemism. When they use the word popular enlightenment, it seems like they're doing the Russian people a favor. It's like they're making them smarter or something. And then Stalin.
So would popular might have been propaganda?
Yep, that's what it means, propaganda. Now guys, it's important to note, even though this is later in our syllabus, but that is almost a hierarchical level of the individuals that were seen as the most prominent to take over leadership or senior leadership capacity. And you do just notice Stalin is at the bottom. He was definitely overlooked a number of times as someone who could lead the country as chairman of the Communist Party. Okay? So that's the early Soviet government that's happening at that time. Okay? And so Lenin didn't muck around. Well, as soon as they took over and they had the political control of Petrograd, he didn't muck around to say we need to set up a bureaucracy to have people in certain functions so that Russia can what? Just keep going. We need the wheels to keep turning. Yeah, because if the Russia is an ice cream and the ice cream melts, guys, no one's happy. Okay, now, then we come forward. Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. I'm going to pull out the purple pen because we're looking at a date. Can someone give me a specific date for Treaty of Brest-Litovsk?
1918.
March, what was the number? 3rd, 1918. Good. Okay. Now specifically, what is this Treaty of Brest-Litovsk? What is it? Peace treaty with Germany, okay?
Isn't it like a compromise though?
It is a compromise.
Because Russia declined.
Yeah, it is a compromise because Russia really wants to get out of the war. Well, the Bolsheviks want to get out of the war. So because Germany has got the upper hand, the Russians have to compromise because Germany doesn't have to say, yeah, we'll let you out of the war. So a peace treaty with Germany to get Russia out of World War One. 1 second, Mike. What was that?
Do you know if Germany lessened their war punishments in the treaty? Because they had thing before, right?
Yeah. So what happened? Well, they actually had, in regards to economically, it was a pretty good treaty. There were no reparations, but they did take. They're still quite severe in some senses because they took every bit of territory of Russia that was west of Brest-Litovsk, which included a lot of their industry, and so they took Germany, 90% of Germany's coal output region. But you've got to remember, Russia gets a lot of that back after World War One. Yeah. So Germany loses that within the same year. So it's not like they're struggling for too long, if that makes sense. Okay? So it's a peace treaty with Germany to get Russia out of World War One. Okay? What do we know about it? Let's look at some impacts. So what's one impact firstly? So let's look at the what do you got, Elias?
Lots of massive people, like 62 million people.
So yeah, okay, so lots of population. Hang on, let's go. So impact.
Is this impact on Russia?
Yeah, impact on Russia. What was that, Elias?
Economic losses were significant. Russia lost 62 million people.
Hang on, loss of population. Yeah. What else?
Economic losses of
Yeah, so industrial loss. Yep. Which therefore led to economic issues. But the biggest one, which I'm going to put in purple so we notice it, it should be in your circle on the top right.
So saying industrial capacity.
Loss of industrial capacity, which led to economic issues. It's really testing your eyesight, isn't it? Everyone's going to need glasses after this lesson. Now, in that sheet we got with the different circles, it's the one on the top right. There's a really good phrase about what.
accelerated war.
Good. Yeah. Now, what's really important to note, guys, what is already happening right now? Civil War's already happening. So it's important to note, guys, that Civil War started in October 1917. This is March 3, 1918. So this is after the Civil War started, but because there's less focus externally out of Russia, as soon as the war finishes, what does that mean the Bolshevik Party's focusing simply on now? The White Army, the problems in Russia. Okay? So, the biggest one you've got to acknowledge, okay? It accelerated
Did it just make everyone angry?
No, it's more that it's more realised that when the World War I's going on, you got soldiers away from Russia. They're fighting. People in Russia are focusing on World War One. That's a priority. And then when the enemy or the focus of an issue is away from Russia, less people are concerned about this happening, what's happening, right? But then once the soldiers are coming home, World War One is not an issue for Russia anymore. All they're going to focus on now is internal issues, okay? Which is literally the ideological and political and physical conflict between the White Army and the Red Army.
So the Treaty of Bolshevik.
Brest-Litovsk. Which treaty? Sorry, Brest-Litovsk. Yeah.
Yeah, Brest-Litovsk helped Bolsheviks focus and win the Civil War.
Well, it didn't help them focus. It's just more. This didn't. It's firstly important because Lenin said we're going to get us out of the war. That's what it is. So firstly, it shows Lenin's sticking to his words, and then a ramification of that. So just a result of that, whether it's intended or unintended, is that a result of this treaty being signed is that both parties, White Army, Red Army, so pro-Bolshevik, anti-Bolshevik, started to focus on Russia, which that's why it accelerated the conflict of the Civil War. Yeah.
Did it win support of the Bolsheviks?
Absolutely. You'd find that because you've got to think about this, guys, even though they've lost, right, industrial capacity because of the loss of territory and that result in economic issues, the people that are supporting the Bolsheviks are already in struggle stream. Yeah? And they know that it's going to be a bit of a long road to get somewhere. And so this is not new to them. But one thing that Lenin did promise them was, we're going to get you peace. And he did achieve that. And so that's a win, huge win. Yeah.
That led to the war communism.
Yeah, that was, but this is what follows, right? So you got to realize this is when war communism sort of takes place, big time. That's when it does. They're not a big fan. Okay, what dates are we looking at war communism? What does yours say? 1918 to 921?
June 1918 to 1921.
Yeah, so it's just a few months after this, and that's when you do get people that were very supportive of the Bolsheviks become very anti-Bolshevik, or at least unhappy about things, because that's when they can't hide away from the fact that the economy is falling apart. Yeah? Alright. Now, Civil War, guys, we do not need you to know what happened, okay, on September 22, 1919, okay? We're not going to be asking stuff like that. What we do need to know, guys, is who's it between?
Reds and whites.
Okay, reds and whites, good, okay? And we got a rough time period, so we know it starts October 1917 to when? We know that for sure? Who's going to lock it in?
It broke out in 1918.
We're going to do technically starts after the October coup. Whether it's an official war, we're going to jot down that you guys can say that it technically began after the October coup. Yeah? When does it finish, guys? Who's going to lock it in? My researchers are madly typing away into Wikipedia.
1918.
Also, it says it's Soviet
Commissar, yeah.
1922.
1922. Do we have a more specific date?
25th of October.
Okay, there you go. Well, there you go. 4 years. Is that 4 years? 5 years. Okay, so guys, October 1917 to October 1922. That's what we're looking at, Civil War, overall. Okay? So it's between the Reds and the Whites. Yeah? So the Reds, guys, who are the Reds again? Bolsheviks, good. Wow, I really botched that up. Just pretend that says Bolsheviks. I think it just says anything but. That's alright. Who are the White Army, though? The anti-Bolsheviks, okay? Now, it's really important to understand. Can someone give me some unique characteristics about the White Army? It's important to understand. If you're going to write about the Civil War, you need to be jotting this down.
Supported the Tsar.
Okay, yeah. So all of them, though?
Social revolutionary.
Okay, so guys, very quickly. So Teresa said, White Army supporting of the Tsar. Okay, and I've asked, was that everyone in the White Army? Was that them? Not all of them. So that, guys, a good phrase to use, a loosely fitting alliance, okay, of different groups. Yeah.
So they have support from other countries.
They had support from allied countries like Britain and France, World War I allies. So guys, some of the White Army factions or people in the White Army would have been pro-Tsar. So they would have wanted a royal family, the Romanovs back in power, yeah? Others wanted a social democracy, okay? Others just didn't want Bolshevism. What were they united in though? Anti-Bolshevism. That's what they were united in.
They are pro-Tsar.
They did. Some were pro-Tsar, some were pro-democracy. Because having the Tsar in power is anti-democracy. Okay, so those people don't politically agree on that.
Yeah.
But the one thing they politically agree on is that they don't want Bolshevism. Yeah?
So what happens if they won?
Who knows what would have happened? I would argue that classic Western European colonialism or imperialism, they would have somehow, Britain or France would have influenced someone being in power, possibly. Who knows? Because you got to remember, World War I really brought down a lot of royal families. So I don't think there's Romanovs or another royal family would have been reinstated for sure. They would have been pushed towards democracy. Anyway, what do we know else, guys? Some important things to consider about the Civil War. Because guys, if you ever talk writing about Bolshevik consolidation of power, this needs to be there. Because what are these two people fight? Sorry, before one here goes up. What are the Reds and the Whites fighting over? Do we know?
Political power.
Yeah, power, specifically political power. So guys, these two people, they are fighting over political power of Russia. Okay? That is meant to be an F. I apologise. But they are fighting over political power of Russia. That's the goal. The one who wins is going to be the one in control. Okay? So therefore, guys, when they win in October 1922, the Reds, the Bolsheviks, what are you going to know?
Take on control.
It's a huge step in their use of language of the syllabus.
Consolidation.
Consolidation of power. Good. A significant step in the Bolshevik consolidation of power. Okay, guys, I personally think if you're writing about an essay about the Bolshevik consolidation of power, you need to be writing about the Civil War. You need to be acknowledging it. Yeah? Okay. And guys, I also recommend one thing, Jaden, that website I've put up on Classroom, Orlando Figueres' website. I highly recommend if you want to just add a historian or what he says about things, he will definitely have a lot to say about this. Yeah? Jaden, what have we
Do
got?
you have to learn like a timeline of the Civil War? Or do you
No.
just have to know the
Look,
general-
Yeah, the main priority for me would be knowing when it happens, okay, what caused it, who's between, and what was the result, and why was that significant? And what did that result in? Yeah? Yes, Elias.
So eliminating the threats of the White Army allowed for the Bolshevik Party to set up the new policies and begin ruling.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if once you eliminate the White Army, the anti-Bolshevik factions, it does allow the early Soviet government to actually be more stable. And they can then, as Elias pointed out, put in their reforms that allows them to what? What's someone seeing? Consolidate power, but also control. Yeah? Alright. The last one, which is probably the least fun or the most fun, depending on your feelings about the economy. New economic policy. What do we got? Okay. So we know very quickly, guys, state capitalism, okay, was what the provisional government had going, that stayed in place. We don't really know about that too much yet. We just know there was a capitalism approach. Then Lenin and the Bolshevik Party in response, okay.
Wasn't it just a restoration to
Well, it was a response to war communism that wasn't working, okay. But very quickly, we'll just do dates first, okay. So we have state capitalism. When does that occur?
1917.
What was that? Sorry.
1917.
Okay, 1917 to when?
1980, June 1980.
Alright, then we have war communism. Yeah, when's that?
1918 to 1921.
And then the NEP is 1921 to 1929, is it?
28.
28. 1921 to 1928. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
why did they keep the state capitalism again?
Because they just didn't have time to prioritize it then. Because you got to think when they took over here, okay, they're just getting the hang of stuff, and so let's just maintain. So when they take over in the October coup, state capitalism's in full swing because of the provisional government, and I think that Lenin and probably the leadership made a decision right then. It's not the priority right now. We just got to get our control, yeah, and so they keep it going till mid 1918. After this, okay. And they realised, well, state capitalism is going against what, guys? What's it really going against? Yeah, Marxism, communism. It's going against our ideology. So we need to also reform our economic policy, but we also what's the big priority going on in 1918 that they need to get rid of? They got civil war happening. They need to get rid of the White Army. So they create the war communism, which is linking up with their Bolshevik ideology. But at the same time, what do they streamline their economy for? What are they trying to get money for? The army, to win the war. Okay? So, we're just going to add, this is going to be a bit of a smorgasbord here, so I do apologise, okay? But, state capitalism, I don't think we need to go into it too much, but war communism, okay? A move towards their ideology. plus streamlining economy for the war effort. Would you say from your understanding of war communism, was it a success?
Yes, extremely.
War communism?
For Bolsheviks,
Really? Let's look at our work again. It's an absolute failure.
I know, created hostility towards the Bolsheviks.
Absolutely, okay? So, absolute failure. Okay? Which led to hostility, lack of support, yeah.
But didn't that help him defeating the White Army?
No, because war communism ends while the war's still going on. Because they realise it's not working, because it's actually crippling their economy. So, it's a move towards, war communism, guys, is a move towards their ideology plus streamlining their economy for the war effort. But it's an absolute failure. It leads to hostility, lack of support, and possible rebellion. Okay? Now, one thing I'm lacking here, guys, because there's not enough room, is specific details and examples. That's where you guys would bring in, when you say an absolute failure, give examples of how much of a failure it was. Yeah.
Mining output was at 29%.
Yeah, exactly right. The mining output was so low. Sorry? Yeah, famine. The birth rate dropped. Yeah, so you can see the social impacts of the economic failure. Anyway, so guys, you think about who else was really close to mutinying or rebelling against. Sorry, not the military, the sailors. Do you remember that? The Navy, yeah, at the naval base at Kronstadt. And they were one of the biggest supporters of the Bolshevik Party. And so that's when it's a wake-up call to the Bolsheviks going, hang on, our biggest supporters are ready to rebel. We need to think about this. So then what does Lenin do? He reforms the economic policy to the new economic policy. Okay? Which would you say is what? It's meant to be, it's reforming things, but it's meant to be a balance between, it ends up being a balance between some capitalist approach, but very also trying to link to communism. Yeah.
Biggest big supporters to rebel.
So Lenin introduced the NEP, which incorporated capitalism to revive the economy. Whether that was intentional or not, but there was definitely aspects of it where like profit was allowed to be made. Okay. Yeah. So, but the thing is, they removed that the grain requisition stuff. They wanted people to recover economically, which did incorporate aspects of what we understand as capitalism. Now, it was very clever because it actually did revive the economy massively. But Marianne just brought up a really good point. Can you just say that again very quickly? Okay. What Marianne said was that some of these aspects, they were actually contradicting their what? Their ideology. And so then people within the party start to say, this is not who we are. Okay? And so then you got factions of people in Bolsheviks who were anti the NEP. Okay? Because it's not completely adhering to a Bolshevik ideology. Alright? One thing we can acknowledge though, is this shows that Lenin's flexibility as a leader, he changes his mindset a little bit, but it also establishes a little bit of doubt towards the end of his life. Because this is definitely towards the end of his life, okay? Alright.